Okay, guys, we are getting started. I'm so thrilled that you're with us. I think that some of you, if you're not muted, if you will mute yourselves as we go
Oh,
through
now you've seen it.
recording.
You ready to call?
Let's see. I'm going to actually try to do it as we go, as everybody's popping on. I am Melissa Shaver. Welcome, welcome. I'm so thrilled that you are with us. And we are talking tonight a little bit about impacts that we make in this business as well as the income. So you are here tonight. You have been invited in to hear about the Income and Impact Business Call. And I just wanted to start off really quick just to share a little bit like my background of how I even got into this business. I started this business because of my health and my autoimmune disorders. I was working full time, but I will say within my first month of being on these, my eye was caught by our compensation plan. I was working full time. I actually thought about it in the beginning as it being that side part-time income producing that would help pay bills, help pay for college tuition, all that great stuff, because I was a 9-to-5 girl and I always had been. I was that person that worked 50, 60 hours a week. And that was the business model that I knew. But today, I can excitedly and graciously say that I currently make more than any executive salary that I made in corporate America, but I have way more freedom, way more time to myself, way more flexibility to do what's good for me, what's good for my family. And you're going to quickly see tonight as we go through this time together, you're going to see the community that happens here in Plexus Worldwide and the excitement and the support that we have of each other. I'm thrilled that you're with us. I have two beautiful people with me tonight, Julie Harbor and Wesley Bishop, that they are going to be sharing some of their stories that I'm thrilled to learn from myself, but also just for you to hear a little bit as you're being curious, you're questioning, you're kind of investigating if this online business is something for you. So Julie, I would love to start with you if you can unmute yourself. I'd love for you to share just a little bit about your story. I know that you also have a corporate background, you have family, but tell us a little bit about why you love these products and why you kind of went all in with this business.
Sure. Just a little bit about me is my husband of 27 years now. Wow. And my daughter, who is now 7. We live in Millsap, Texas, which is outside of Fort Worth area. And we live actually in an RV right now inside of a big red barn while we're having our house being built. So, well, a little bit about me is that I did, like Melissa said, I came from a corporate background about 20 years or so, and I did that 60 to 80 hour a week kind of thing. You know, I was like kind of all in for the business. What I was missing most was what was happening at home, and that broke my heart. So what I ended up doing is in 2014, I actually quit cold turkey. And the reason for that is so that we could go forward with adopting a child. And so, which was the biggest and biggest blessing for us. But here's one thing about it is that I did make a nice income whenever I was working there, but it was not fulfilling. And whenever I quit that job and I stayed at home, I quickly realized that there was something that I needed to do, be able to help with household income. But one thing that the reason why I came to Plexus really was out of a prayer because of from the health side of things. My daughter had been had some childhood trauma and was dealing with some constipation. And within 1 week, we had eliminated that and she started just to regulate normally. I actually needed some help too with allergies. I had no idea that I was suffering with. And now that I actually have eyeballs and I can breathe and I can go without makeup. And so I'm not dealing with cystic acne. My husband is now not taking any kind of triglyceride to manage medicine for triglycerides. So really from a health standpoint, it really has been a prayer. And the one thing that as a parent that I've learned is that of what's on our hearts a lot is our health, as well as the future for our children and our families. And that's where the business side really came in tied with Plexus. And the reason why it's like all in is kind of Melissa talked about for me is that, first of all, I feel like I'm really actually making an impact on somebody's life. It becomes personal when I'm able to walk alongside with them and be able to help them and help their families to be able to find healing and hope. The other thing really is that it's building that future, not only for our family, but also for somebody else's family. And you know what? I started to look at this. Melissa actually brought this to mind, is that we are a CEO of our own business. So now it's working on our own terms. And Melissa really talked about that flexibility now, and there's no cap to that. That was very attractive to me, coming from that corporate environment where it was not my own to own, right? So now having that and being able to build and grow a future for my family, and to be able to have options and flexibility, and that includes time also, that is something that I do want to be all in, and then be able to offer that as a gift to other families, especially in this world, in this environment. Then yes, that is something that I want to be a part of.
Meeting everyone, and I'm like, let me unmute myself. That excites me to hear about, and to hear your heart, and to hear your passion towards that. So some of you might be like, what is Plexus? I've been invited into this environment. I know a little bit about it, but let me just tell you really quick about our community. We are a plant-based supplemental and drink company. We focus on gut health, mental health, hormone health. We really look at blood sugar regulation, inflammation, all those things, because we know, and we've learned very quickly, because of all of our own health journeys, that all health starts the core at gut health. And so it is non-GMO, it's gluten-free, it's pure health to the masses. I mean, everyone from infants, 2 years old up to 90, 95, right? Like it is all, it's male and female, it's all generational, it's all inclusive. And so you've never seen or understood like a business like this, even what Julie was saying, that we are responsible for our own businesses, and we get to make those decisions. We are limitless as far as what we can do with this business, the impact that we can make with this business. But the big thing that I want you to hear is that you're never alone in this business either. You have community support around you. So I want to talk to you a little bit about social selling, because that has become something that just piques people's interest more and more right now. The economy that we're in, e-commerce, online businesses, all of those conversations are really starting to explode even more. And I want you to understand what it is, what it means for you, and why you should lean into these conversations. Social media, the Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, they are all platforms, and they are platforms for you to share your lifestyle, your love, your beliefs. But with online businesses like this, you are paid for that. You're paid to share those things. You're paid to share these products, personal development, the things that are happening, the things that you're overcoming. Sharing those things is what has other people step into the conversation with you. Social selling, Forbes magazine says that in 2020, in the midst of everything that we were going through with the pandemic, of everything being shut down, and us seeing just our communities close up, e-commerce actually grew 44%, which is fascinating to me. You might have been one of those people that helped that grow, right? But this is what I want you to know whenever you're like, what is e-commerce? What is social selling? What is online business? I don't fully understand. What I hear a lot of people say is, I'm not a salesperson. I could never do something that is selling. This is what I want you to understand. It's very relationship driven. It's very value driven. But this is what I also want you to hear, because I want you to do your own research. I know I did my research whenever I stepped into this business, and I love having business conversations, because I think that you need to be informed. I think that you need to ask the questions. You know if it's going to be a fit for you. But this is what I want you to hear. 3.6 billion people are active on social media. That's half the world population. And what is being predicted in the next 4 years, 2024, that will be at 4.41 billion. This is what you need to hear if you don't hear anything else. Social selling is the business model today. It is where we are going as a country, as a how we buy, how we build relationships. And what I think is fascinating, I heard a financial planner share this, and it is true if you really think about it, and you've kind of watched social selling. But in the midst of last year of 2020, with the economy and happening in our country the way that it was in the world, social selling had its own robust economy outside of the US economy. I mean, it exploded in the midst of crisis. Those are things that you need to be thinking about as you're making decisions on this business model or a career change or wanting to come home, have flexibility with the family. You're able to create an income that will build a legacy for your family. And I want you to hear this too. We will teach you those simple steps, and they are simple steps. But now is the time to start sharing. Now is the time to move all in into an online entrepreneur model like we're talking about. And Julie, I want to ask you another question real quick. I know, like I said in the beginning, you came from that corporate, very structured, traditional background. You stepped away for that for family. I would love to hear your thoughts when it comes to social selling and how you stepped into this type of a business model from your corporate background.
Sure, that's a really good question. You know, in my corporate marketing career, it was all about that one company. There was my client and getting their specific message out to a targeted group of potential customers, right? So that was my job. And in what Melissa's talked about, and as well as another trainer in this space her name is Kristen Boss, she talked about this one-to-many model. And it dawned on me, it's like, okay, well, I kind of did that already. It makes sense to me because now we are that brand, we are that business. As Melissa kind of talked about, we're that CEO, we are that one-to-many model. And that made really a lot of sense to me to be able to step into this more easily, maybe. But at the same time, it's really, as Melissa said, it's really for anyone. I mean, we're already naturally a seller. I mean, our children, I mean, I've got a 7-year-old, right? So she's able to wheel and deal me, even though that's not what we're about, okay, yeah, she wants the newest whatever. And we're just naturally wired that way just to be able to share. It's more about the sharing side of it, but it is a sales game, but it's not a pushy, it's not a quota. It's not any kind of that kind of slimy piece of it. And that's what attracted me really about the business side of Plexus, because there was a professionalism about Plexus. Coming from that corporate side, I could sniff out something that's kind of wasn't really lining up to my values from a business standpoint, and I appreciated that. Anything that Plexus puts on, whether it's an event, whether it's this particular event itself or corporate or other things, trainings, it's very professional and there's encouragement there. The one thing that really impressed me also is that we get challenged. It's not, like I said, there's no quotas, there's no sales that we have to meet every single month. It's really all based off of our own kind of desire to move forward or to help one another. But what we do have is training, and we show up every morning and we have it set up. Our mindset is set up for the day in order to be effective and to be able to move the business forward. And that in doing so, we are getting sharpened too. And so that's where that community comes alongside of it, and where we get sharpened, iron sharpens iron, right? With like-mindedness. And so that's where I feel as a community where I am learning more than probably I have, and grown more than any place in my career in corporate, or even, to tell you the truth, in the church, because we get down in the nitty gritty and we start to check our thoughts and we start to reevaluate, well, why am I showing up every day? What is my thought process? And in all of this, it all goes back to where I feel is the heart of Plexus, is that's exactly what it is. We have a heart at the center of Plexus. It's all about the people. It's not about us. And so that, again, it really attracts me about the business side of it, because in the corporate world, it was very much about, let me just do my job and I need to move forward, not about these other people coming alongside me. I need to keep moving forward and look out for that next promotion. Whereas with Plexus, it's truly what we call as one Plexus, and it allows us to be able to share, and we want people to come alongside us. We want to grow all together. And it's that old saying is that we rise up by rising everybody else up. We all float up together. We want to soar together. We're stronger together. And so I love that. And being a part of that community, you don't traditionally find that in the business world. And so I've really enjoyed that. And so whether or not, you're walking in a job that's 9 to 5 right now, or you're at a stay-at-home mama, or if you're a retiree or even a college student, extra $200 a month could mean everything to be able to meet a payment, or as Melissa said, to be able to totally replace that and in fact increase it from where she left corporate. And that is my desire, to tell you the truth, and I'm moving towards that, is to be able to get back to that corporate level salary. I mean, this is something that I could do, but still working from home and having that flexibility. But it's that freedom of being able to work anywhere, anytime, on my terms. So I can go to the recitals, to the practices, and be able to manage my time and be able to respond to people and reach out. And so I love that, because I can have my family time, and I can earn a business also that is thriving, and be able to give that as a gift to other people so that they can build that legacy business. So it fits into your life versus having your business run your life.
Wow. Okay, I'm in. That was amazing to hear your heart on that, but it's so true. And the ability to have a legacy, and the realization that everything that we do is on our phone. The majority of us work from our phone, or pack up, our backpack and go somewhere. And it's just fascinating, the opportunities that we've been given. But I love what you said about mindset. I love what you said about how much you've developed in this process, the iron sharpening iron. It's so true. And I think that this is for anyone that wants to try new things, that wants to level up, that feels like that there is more for them. So thank you so much, Julie. That was incredible. As we think about this past year, we're actually moving into school, right? I was talking to our leaders earlier this week that in 4 weeks, the majority of the country is going back to school. Everybody goes at a different time, but it's coming up fairly quickly. And here in Texas, it's in the next 4 weeks. But we've learned a great deal about just the criticalness of not only having that strong immune system, but the importance of that multiple streams of income. Multiple streams of income has been an incredible conversation that I continue to find myself in over the last couple of weeks. And it's fascinating. It is women and men that are home, that moms that are stay-at-home mamas, but these conversations are starting about the future and knowing that they need to have those multiple streams of income. It's businessmen and women that I've had great conversations with that are just saying we have to know that it's coming from different places. And I think what I even love, even greater than that, is that it is biblical. It's spoken about. And so I love that. And I know that for many of you on tonight, or maybe you're listening to this replay, you might be like, your brain is saying, okay, like this is fascinating to think about, the opportunity that might be right at my fingertips. But there's also that other side that it's like, let's just wait. Let's just wait till the kids get back into school. Let's wait till we close out summer. We go on that last vacation, because it's hard, right? We always think it's just hard with the kids to be here. Let's just wait until they go back. But can I just tell you, I'm going to challenge that, because it's going to be hard when the kids go back to school, right? It's going to be hard because all of a sudden it is a new schedule, and that there are those parent-teacher conversations, and there are school fall activities that start happening. So I want to challenge you on, why not, when you lean in right now and you're like, this might be my answer to prayer. This might be what I've been having a conversation with my spouse on. This might be exactly what I need, not only for my health, but I literally, as I share it, will also be able to bring in that income. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about what would it look like 4 weeks from now if you get started, 6 months from now. What if you didn't start now? Where would you be then? I want you to think about those things because we all want you to live your best life. We've gotten a taste of that. I will say with my 4 autoimmune disorders, with my chronic pain, I knew that there had to be a best life out there, but I was searching. I wanted quality of life. I wanted to live out my potential. I think we're all born with that deep, deep inside. And so I want you to think through that. If you've got this gut, like I did when I got started and I looked at this business model that was go for it, I want to challenge you, go for it. Like this is for you. So go back to that person that invited you here, kiss them on the cheek and say, thank you for bringing me into this conversation, and let them know that you're ready to get started, and they will start walking you through that process. But as we move on, I want to move into a conversation with a precious dear friend of mine. I'm so thrilled that she said yes to be with me tonight, so that I could just ask her and pick her brain. I am excited to hear what she has to say. This is my friend, Wesley Bishop. She is a full-time mama of 3. She is a pharmacist. She just in the past couple of years has been able to transition from full-time pharmacist to full-time stay-at-home mama, and she does this Plexus Worldwide online business full-time, if that's what you want to call it. We call it full-time, but it is not full-time. But she and her husband Tim, they live in a small town in Kansas, and baby number 4 is coming in December. So Wesley, thank you for giving us your time tonight. And if it is okay, I would love to ask you a couple of questions, if that is all right. So unmute yourself. But I wanted to ask you, with your pharmacist background, I know that you took these products personally prior to sharing them and starting your business. And I really would love to hear from you on how these products aligned with your personal values.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yay for baby number 4. When you said that, I got super excited. Um, so honestly, I just wanted something that worked and that had evidence to back it up. Being a pharmacist, I'm a little bit of a nerd, and I wanted to know that there was evidence behind the products and that they worked. And when I found that they worked, it just became natural for me to share because I wanted to help other people who were struggling. So really how it aligned with my personal values was they worked and they have evidence behind them.
Yeah. From your perspective, this business model that we continue to talk about, how was that a good fit for you? I know that you started off full time. So what did that look like in that space? And when you started realizing what this business model looked like, what did you think about that?
So like you said, in the beginning, I was working full time. So I loved that I really could just fit it in where I could. I was able to show up to work a little bit early and sit in my car before I went inside and do a little bit of work. I was able to, take my lunch breaks to do a little bit of work. I was able to do some work after the kids went to bed. So I loved that it fit into my busy life as a mom. And it's really transitioned into my busy life as a mom, but being a stay-at-home mom. You think you're going to have all this extra time and you'll be able to just do all the things, but life is busy, right? And making memories is busy. So I just love that I'm able to fit it into my life instead of like trying to fit my life around my career. And what I loved about this business model was, so I just a little bit of background. Before I started Plexus, my health was bad and I was miserable. I was tired all the time, and I just I would get home from work, I would lay down on the couch or I'd go to bed, or I would be sick in the bathroom from my abdominal pain or migraines, one or the other. So I just wasn't showing up as a mom, and I couldn't imagine being a stay-at-home mom. I thought anybody that does that or wants to do that, I thought they were crazy. I didn't think I had what it took. I didn't think I could possibly do it. But it's funny how that works, that God lays things on your heart. And once I felt better, I had that desire laid on my heart to be home with my kids. And I loved that I was able to see in this business model that that could be a possibility. I saw that I could do this on my own time. I saw that my potential to impact others was limitless, right? It wasn't based on just who I knew, but who they knew and who they knew and who they knew and on and on. And I also saw that the income potential was limitless. I knew as a pharmacist, I'd kind of hit that cap of income that I could make, but I saw that possibility financially here, and I began to see the possibilities of time freedom, financial freedom. I envisioned how generous I could be and how I could make an impact, not only from that money, but also with that extra time that I knew I would have once I was able to transition to being home with my kids. So all of those things just really just had me so excited for the possibilities of the future. And something that I realized just recently, um, I was talking to my brother about, you know, in the when I was working as a pharmacist, if something had happened to me, if heaven forbid something happened to me and I was no longer around and my family no longer had my pharmacist income because that would just go away, right? If I was gone and it wasn't working, I wouldn't get paid. Um, but being where I'm at now, I've built this legacy business, and if something were to happen to me, I know that my family would be taken care of. I know that this income would continue to come in. Um, and that residual income, like that, is probably my favorite part of this business model. Like knowing, like, what better feeling is there as a mom knowing that if something were to happen to you, your kids would be taken care of, your family would be taken care of. So
Wow, that's so true. Um, I loved what you were saying whenever you were even sharing, like, I envisioned and I could see, like, how I could give time, how I could impact. I think that that was a really big piece for me was I just didn't realize that I hadn't dreamed. A lot of times people are like, dream big, or you need to start dreaming. And as adults, a lot of times we're like, yeah, that's for the babies, right? That kind of gets squashed for us. And I do believe that this business reopened what we're all created for, and that is to dream and to create and to build. I always say that people are coming behind us, we're building something for someone else to live out. And to hear you say those things makes me think about that. So thank you for sharing in that way. I love some of the things. I'm going to have to go back and even listen to the recording to kind of pull some of that. It was so good. So tell me this, in your transition from full-time pharmacist to stay-at-home mama, I want to hear a little bit from you on how that looked for your family. I think many of us in this industry there's some type of a transition in life that we're kind of looking at. It might be bringing, ourselves from full-time to full-time home. It might be part-time, like we love our job, but we would love to do it part-time, and we would love this to be that secondary income stream, or even, bringing a spouse home, or allowing the spouse to do something different with their career, right? But I know for you and Tim that there was a transition there, of you going from full-time pharmacist to coming home. And if you don't mind, I would just love to hear how y'all worked through that transition. Like, what did that look like for you guys?
so you're always going to get real from me, real honesty, right? So there were times when I was frustrated. Um, my husband and I would come up with, a timeline when I'd be able to make that transition to being home. And it seemed like every time I would get close to that goal, close to that rank, close to whatever it was we had set, um, then my husband would kind of backtrack and be like, "Well, I think I'd be more comfortable at this level." And it happened numerous times, and I started to feel defeated. Kind of like it just never was going to happen. It's like you're just going to keep moving the end zone, right? And it's just I'm never going to get there. Um, I wanted to just throw my hands up, but I knew, like, deep down, I knew that quitting wasn't an option. I knew that this was my answer. I knew, like, I really felt like God had shown me that this was my answer to fulfill that desire in my heart to be home with my babies. And so um, we got to learn how to communicate better, right? Um, we got to really like for each of us to understand the others priorities and values. And it was just, he valued that security, he valued debt freedom, and I valued that time with my kids. Like, I felt like they're only going to be little for so long, and I just really want to be home with them now. And he also honestly had some hesitations around the business model, because it is so different. Like you touched on earlier, Melissa, it's so different than what we're used to. We're used to punch in a clock and you get paid for it, right? You work, you get paid for it, and it was just so different than what we're used to and what he had ever known. So again, we got to just communicate and discuss those things, and discuss how my job as a pharmacist wasn't something that was guaranteed, right? I worked for a small pharmacy, a locally owned pharmacy that, was a new pharmacy that wasn't doing well financially. And so, I mean, we just got to get really good at communicating. And um, once we both understood where we were coming from, we understood, instead of just sitting in frustration and not discussing it, just being upset or whatever, we got to discuss it. We got to communicate and understand each other's values. And at that point, we finally came to, the ultimate, like, this is when you can transition. This is, when I could stay home. And what I really want you guys to know is that, there will be people that don't understand. There will be people that maybe don't support all your decisions, and that's okay. We get to have decided hearts, right? And know that if we want this to be a supplemental income, if we want this to be our primary source of income, whatever we want, if we truly desire that, then we get to know that quitting is not an option, and that communication is so key, right? Your spouse or significant other, your kids, your family, whoever it is, they get to be a part of those discussions and those decisions. And what I don't know about you guys, but what I found was sometimes they just want to be heard. My husband just wanted, his fears, his desires, his values to be heard. And once they were heard and he felt understood, it was a lot easier to come to that conclusion together. So I just really encourage you guys, if you choose this business or if you're already in this business, to make communication with your loved ones a priority. It is so, so important.
I love that. And I will say, I was in communications is my background. And I feel like that I have learned to communicate so much better in this industry. I think that the things that we learn and how we develop, it goes across all lines, right? And that goes into that personal. So I love hearing that from you. And thanks for sharing that. I think it's something good to hear. Always communicate, always allow our spouses to be heard. We're going through a conversation right now, my husband and I, and he's questioning me on a lot of things. And even tonight, I told him what I thought I was going to be doing. And then he questioned me on that. And I thought you'd be happy with that answer. But we're learning to ask questions, to dig in, to lean into, and it just makes us better people. So, okay, Wesley, I have another question for you. So what would you say to someone who is questioning stepping into this business and trying to figure out if this is for them? I know that there's this belief out there that you have to be a certain type of person to be successful with online businesses. So a lot of times I hear people say, you've got to be an extrovert, or you've got to know a lot of people, or you have to have a really big following on social media to be successful. What would you just say to someone that is trying to figure out if this is a fit for them?
So I'll dispel the extroverted thing right now. I'm an introvert myself, so
Amen.
I know that you can be successful in this, even being introverted. And as I said earlier, the impact that you make isn't based on who you know, right? It's on who each person who they know, right? Who it's on their networks and their networks, and on and on and on. So I have thousands of people on my team now, and I probably knew, I don't know, 300 or less of them before Plexus, right? And even, I mean, if you look at the chat and the call, on this call, I asked, where's everyone tuning in from? We've got people from Florida, New Hampshire, Texas, Arkansas, oh, there's another Texas, Pennsylvania, Tennessee. I'm in Kansas, like, and that's just the people that answered on this call. I don't know people from all of those states, but people that I know do, right? So I think that's the beauty of it. It's about not only who you know, but who they know and who they know, and on and on. So
Yeah, that's so true. Very true. I think I've met more people through this business because of this business. So you're absolutely right. Okay, so if there's someone that is here with us tonight and they are ready to get started, but they have a little bit of a fear of moving, right? Moving from that traditional type of a career or a medical industry background, and into online business, how could you encourage them?
I think the beauty of this business, like we talked about, you can work it, whenever you can work it into your life, not your life around it. Um, but the other thing is that it can be whatever you want it to be. If you want it to be $200 a month, or you want to replace your six-figure a year income like I was able to do, or anything in between, like, it can be done, and you get to choose what you want it to be.
Mhm.
And what I love is to be successful in this business, like, it's really just a series of simple steps that you're doing over and over and over again. Um, and you can do it alongside another career. And it can serve, or we want it to, it can serve as a vehicle to help you transition to not working outside the home. So again, it's really what you desire it to be. And like Melissa said at the beginning, you're not alone. Like, all of us have come before you, and we have, simple systems. We have simple things in place that we can help you with, right? We can show you the way, lead the way for you, so that you, don't have to stumble. You don't have to make all the mistakes that we made. We did that for you. Um, so if you're coachable, and as they talked about before, you're willing to work on yourself, work on that head trash, work on your mindset, then you can make this whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it could be as simple as wanting to just pay for your products, right? All the way to getting that six-figure executive income and beyond. So I love that so much. I love that you said we made the mistakes for you. That's so funny. But you know what? I mean, I was that person that went from traditional to online business, and it is a transition. It just looks different. But I feel like we've talked a lot about freedom tonight, but I feel like that there is a freedom in this business. Yes, it's very simple system. It really is relationship driven, value driven. That is the core of what we do. But yet within that, there's also just so much freedom, and the community, like Julie was saying, wanting you to win. I've never been a part of a community like this. I just haven't. And so it's so beautiful. I absolutely love that. Okay, Wesley, very last question, maybe. But I want to know those, and you probably touched on it. You said coachable, teachable, all that. But what would be those, if there were three things to be successful in this business, what would you say?
So I would say, I think number one is the mindset, personal development, willingness to work on yourself. Because if there's one thing that held me back in this business for a really long time, it was my own thoughts, right? The things that I was telling myself, that I was allowing to hold me back. So I'd say that consistency, and that, like, that decided heart, like knowing that quitting is not an option, knowing that even if it takes 5 years to get where you want to be, it's worth it. I can tell you it took me well, 5 years to get to diamond, which was the ultimate goal, right? And it was worth it. 5 years was more than worth it. And Melissa, I know you'd agree with me. And then number three is the coachability, like you said, just being coachable, being open to allowing somebody to help you,
Mhm.
so that you don't have to do all those things by yourself. You don't have to figure it all out on your own. Let us help you.
Amen. Wesley, thank you so much. That's so good. Okay, Julie, I want to ask you a question before I close out. Okay, so tell me, I really want to hear, we've heard about you living in your RV, you've got your red barn, you are literally building a landscape, a brand new for your future, which is so cool. But what would you say is your favorite thing about Plexus?
That's a good question, and a hard one too, because the favorite thing, and I think, Wesley, you talked about it, is the personal development and how that really hits home to every aspect of your life. And I think, as Plexus really reaches our inside, right out on a root level, on a cellular level, I feel that Plexus on a business side hits us inside also, from a emotional, a mental, and a spiritual level. And Melissa, you talked about it, and it really transcends to all areas of our lives, to our families, and then our relationships outside of that, and our friendships are being renewed. And it's just amazing how our communication skills get more refined, and leadership skills. It's like this whole package. And so I kind of talk about this fusion, at least that's what I kind of call it, a fusion of all these things. The creativity piece that, that I love to do starts to bubble up, and then be able to have that extension of relationships and build up new friendships, and be able to push me to open myself up to meet new people. So it really does put this whole thing together in personal development, and it really challenges me. And so that's what I've enjoyed the most, because we become a better person in a gift, and be able to become all that we've been created to be. Like Melissa, you talked about, I mean, we have purpose on our life. And I love that Plexus is helping me to become that. So I appreciate that.
Wow. What about you, Wesley? What do you love about Plexus?
So I've got a few things. I would say the integrity of our company and the heart of the executives is huge for me. And I'm just going to give a quick example. A lot of you have probably heard about this, but last year, everybody knows 2020 was insane. And when Tarl, our CEO, saw that some of the employees at corporate, that their spouses were being impacted, their jobs were being impacted, they were losing hours, they were losing pay, maybe losing jobs completely, not the corporate employees, but their spouses, right? So their household income was impacted. When Charles saw that happening, he made the decision to not take a salary from May until the end of 2020, and donated that to the corporate employees. He gave that to the corporate employees to help fill that gap, even though none of those employees lost hours with corporate. Like Plexus was still paying them their normal salary. They were, working from home, and they actually even added employees during this time. But those people were not impacted. Plexus did not decrease their pay, but because he knew that some of them would be impacted, he donated a salary. Which, guys, that CEOs don't do that. That is not something you see in the corporate world. Melissa kind of alluded to it earlier about feeling, appreciated and encouraged and all of those things. That's not something you typically see. Um, I didn't see it in my previous career, and to see an executive, a CEO with that kind of heart, that giving, generous heart, it just makes me. It makes it's someone that I'm proud to partner with, to do business with, and it is a company that I am proud to represent 100%. And then, in addition to that, I would echo again what Melissa, and I think both of them I've talked about earlier, and it's that the community and connections that I've made. I can tell you guys that since I finished my collegiate running career, um, that I had just really been missing those super close knit relationships. And I just had told myself I was just at a stage in my life where it was hard to make those close friendships and those real friendships, right? Um, and I'm just so happy that I was wrong. And I found that community and connections here with Plexus. So
Yeah.
that would be my
So good, so good. That integrity piece, guys. And that's a big piece. You know, that's why we want you to know about this business plan is hearing what our CEO did and knowing where we were. And like Wesley was saying, like nobody lost their jobs in the midst of that, but they also were hurting in the midst of that because spouses did and different things. And I really want you to hear our heart on this, that you know, our mission in our team mission is that no one is left behind. Like we want to create a movement where families are getting stronger, they're feeling more alive every day. We desire for every household that is taking Plexus to be able to have their products paid for just by sharing with some friends. And so hearing that and just knowing the correlation of what we all desire and the support that we have, because we know that whenever mamas and dads feel good, children feel good, they're raised up differently. It changes generational patterns. So I want you to know as we get ready to close out tonight that you have the ability to make 300 or above just this month by sharing with 3 friends or more. And you might be that person that is ready, that you're ready to get that supplemental income, you're ready to change careers, you're ready for early retirement and doing something that you love out there and you need that seed money. You might really want to go beyond $300, $400 a month. You might want to go towards that executive level. You heard us talk a little bit about those simple steps that we have. We have systems in place, whether you want to pay for your products every month or you really want to go and make a huge financial impact and change lives in that way. And I also want you to know that we're not just in the United States. We're in New Zealand, we're in Australia, we're in Canada, we're in Mexico. So this is what I want you to hear. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for giving us your time. What you need to do next is that whoever invited you in, they're going to get back with you. They want to hear from you. Like, what was it that stood out to you? What was it that you were like, that rings true for me? Y'all talk about that, but let them know that you're ready to get started, that you have more questions. If you have more questions, we want to get those questions answered for you. We want to get you plugged in. We want you to get you into this community so that you can start seeing success. So thanks for being with us, Wesley, Julie. Thank you very much for your time. Guys, I hope you have a fantastic night. Y'all have a great night and we will talk to y'all later.